This conference will now be recorded.
It looks like the little Target logo on my screen. And I look down and I'm like, why is there a Target on my screen?
Oh,
Record. So we're
that's what
recording now.
that is. Okay, yes, we're recording now.
But he needs to remember this is the MS group. No one is going to remember that you have to press record. We need the reminder. This is the MS group.
Yep.
I know we seem functional. I know we seem smart. We can do it. We can paint, but we can't remember.
We can't remember. Nope. So that's okay. We're actually still in the introductions. We just have two that's left, so we can continue on with our discussions afterward. So Tim, do you want to go ahead and just do a brief introduction and let me know if you need time today?
Yeah, sure. I don't need any time, but I'm Tim. I got diagnosed with CIS, which is just kind of the precursor back in March of 2021. I am the spokesman for Aubagio. No, I'm not, but it's the best drug out there. Yeah, that's all I got tonight. So I'm just enjoying everybody's conversation, being a little bit funny tonight, and rock and roll.
Very cool. Thank you, Tim. Good seeing you too.
I forgot to tell you I'm on Ocrevus as well.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I just forgot
to. You say whatever you want to say. Okay, so we have two different people that would like to speak today. So Frank, did you want to go ahead and go first, and we can go back to Mike after that? Oh, you are muted again.
No, I'm not.
There you go.
I don't know how many of you heard about the settlement last week with the Department of Justice, Biogen. They were fined, listen, get this, $900 million for.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, my finger was a little more powerful than I realized.
They were fined $900 million for kickbacks to doctors for Tecfidera and Tysabri. And they slipped it in just before the case was to go to trial so that they wouldn't get stuck for more. That part's my thing. It's the largest settlement for a kickback in U.S. history. Just wanted to pass that along.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that.
Where does the money go to?
Goes to the department, back to the government.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I do want to look that up. I just want to.
Yeah, just look up Biogen settlement, and it'll give you everything.
Okay, all right.
They better make a really sweet park.
Right. Let's see what they do with it now. Yeah. So
Considering that's money that all of us paid for treatments, yeah.
Yeah. We should all have a say at that point. Okay. Okay. This is big news, though. I am going to look that up. Mike, you had a question about what was it called again? Alpha.
It's called alpha lipoic acid.
Oh, okay.
Study for diabetes, neuropathy, nerve pain, kidney disease, and the chiropractor that my sister goes to in Florida suggested it might work for MS patients. I don't know. I wonder if there's a lot of these homeopathic type of treatments out there, and I'm going to give it a shot. It's 600 milligrams 3 times a day. And they say within 10 days, I'll notice a difference. I don't know what that would be, but I will report at the next session.
Yeah, I want to know about that too because it took me a minute, but I did hear about alpha lipoic acid. Because I think that my mom took that when after she'd gotten a foot surgery. Um, Doctor told her to take it, I think also for nerve things. I don't remember if it was nerve pain or what, but that sounds in line with what you're saying. Um, and she turned out fine. I mean, he also told her to take about 4 or 5 other different supplements too. So,
Sure.
I mean, she's recovered now, so that's the good thing. But yeah, you'll have to report back to us because I'm curious about that too.
Yeah. I have it's a book by, I don't know if anyone's familiar, by Dr. Alan Bowling. He used to be the director of the Rocky Mountain MS Center in Colorado. He has a book. It's called Optimal Health with Multiple Sclerosis, and he does a lot of he's researched a lot of alternative supplements, therapies, stuff like that. ALA is in here. Um, it's questionable whether or not it works or not. It says it's very well tolerated, may cause nausea, vomiting, agitation. Um, but it tells you if stuff's safe or not for MS. So if anyone's interested, it's the book. It's really good for alternative supplements and all that. Because
What
he
was the
studies,
supplement?
it's called Optimal Health with Multiple Sclerosis. And the author is Alan C. Bowling. Um, yeah, he used to
Cool.
be the director of the Rocky Mountain MS Society, but
Oh, okay.
now he does research. I could put it in chat if anyone wants me to. So yeah, I always
Cool.
look at this book when I think of alternative stuff, because he researched it. So yeah. So let me figure out how
Yeah.
to do chat here. This is a whole new thing.
Yeah, no, it's right at the upper right corner if you're on
Okay,
a
I see
computer.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm mildly interested in supplements and that kind of
Yeah.
holistic health. I was very widely interested in it when I was first diagnosed. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. Basically, I had read Terry Wall's I won't go too much into it, but I'd read Terry Wall's book and tried her diet. Didn't work for me, but I felt great while I was on it, so that was good. Andrea, I see that you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I just want to caution against trying too many supplements or everything that somebody has heard about multiple sclerosis and it's supposed to cure it, because there is no cure. And if it claims to, it might have worked for somebody, it might currently be working for somebody, but with the different disease modifying therapies that we're on and the medications that we may or may not be taking for various other symptoms of multiple sclerosis, I would just caution everyone to be careful and talk to your doctor and make sure that there's no interactions that might occur. That's all. I just wanted to throw that out.
Yeah, so that's always really good advice. Honestly, I um it's not common, but my boyfriend has a friend of a family member who who did pass away from overdosing of having too many mixes of medication and supplements. So always
And
talk to your doctor about that kind of
I'm
stuff.
not saying don't do
Oh yeah,
it. I'm
oh
saying
yeah,
talk
oh
to
yeah,
your
for sure.
doctor. That's all
Hmm.
I'm saying. I'm not cautioning against it. I just started taking, I think it's magnesium supplements, and I can now touch my toes for the first time in my life. And I'm almost in my mid 50s.
That's amazing.
So I'm not saying don't do it. I'm
Yeah.
saying just make sure that your doctor is aware of what you're doing.
Kind of
And
along
I
that point, I was going to say, I'm sorry, just real quick, Karen. Um, my doctor sent me a message saying, "Hey, are you not taking your vitamin D?" I said, "Yeah, I take it every Wednesday morning." I was taking vitamin D2 that she prescribed me, but not vitamin D3. So we're
Oh
going to
no.
try that and see if we can get my vitamin D up higher.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
look how cool my proactive specialist is. Like calling
That's
me like,
awesome.
"Hey, this is wrong. You need to go buy some of this." So it was cool.
My
then you
grandma
have
is convinced that I need to go to Brazil because they have all the answers in Brazil.
oh sure.
Meaning, meaning all they do is treat with like high doses of vitamin D, and then they introduce vitamin K, I think, to help offset the vitamin D so you don't overdose on vitamin D. I'm like, Grandma, I'm not going to go to Brazil just to get vitamin D injections and hope that it cures me. But she's convinced that I need to go to Brazil so I can be cured by a physician in Brazil because they know everything.
Mhm.
So I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
not going to Brazil.
Well,
Sorry.
it's very frustrating to have. So I was diagnosed in 2019, and yeah, people would say, "Oh, come on, Karen, you're bigger than this. You could find something. These alternatives, and why don't you look online? Why don't you do that?" And I'm so overwhelmed with just the diagnosis and all the other ridiculous stuff that happened to me before that. It's like, oh, we noticed something on your thyroid, and having half my thyroid taken out because someone thought I had thyroid cancer, but I didn't. And in the meantime, I'm trying to find out why I can't walk, but no, you don't have MS. Just the insanity of all that. And I would say, oh, that's a great idea. Why don't you look into that for me? Oh, I don't have time. And it's
Right.
like, well, but let me know how I can help you. Why don't you look into it? So I would say that little bug hit my head for 6 months or a year, and I looked into different things, and I sing with these women who are drink brown goop from jars and green goop and Terry Walls. Oh, Terry, what you got? Like Terry Walls. So I looked into those things, and I'm not going to start my day with 8 cups of kale. And what I figured there, yes, so I concur, Andrea, from everything I've read and I've looked into. There is no cure. That's why Amina, I said, it doesn't even matter what what they're going to say. I think me writing down permanent progressive multiple sclerosis. Okay, the progressive is a little different than relapse and remitting, and now they're calling me non-relapse and remitting. But everything I've read and I understand is there is no cure. That's why I was a nurse. That's why. What the hell is a disease modifying therapy? What kind of euphemism is that? And it's because it's not a drug. It might modify the disease, but there is no cure and there isn't much enough research to stop it. And my thought about Terry Walls, because I did look into that, and she was 29 years old. She was a doctor. She was a lesbian. She had 2 kids. She had a lot to prove to herself and to the world. And when you're 29, maybe you can do it. She did the diet, but she also did a lot of functional medicine, riding a bicycle. It was like, I am going to conquer this and I am going to do this. And I know she gets grants to do things, but I've read blogs of people who are much smarter and much more determined than me. And if there was something, they would have figured it out.
When I
And
was first diagnosed, Montel Williams was on the circuit talking about his
Hmm.
diet and selling his
Hmm.
book and how he had beat MS. And I haven't heard from him in I don't know how long. So, it might work for a while. Um, I haven't had another relapse since I've been on my disease modifying therapy. So I have to believe that it is modifying my disease. I have to believe that. So I'm grateful for it. Um, but it doesn't stop the fatigue. It doesn't stop my scalp from feeling like the bugs are crawling all over it. And it doesn't stop, I mean, the heat, I mean, the whole 9 yards. I still go blind if I get hot. So it doesn't stop any of that, but apparently I'm not getting worse, and I have to simply applaud that for now, because the research that they're doing gives me the hope.
Yeah.
I do have to say though that I did very good when I was on Dr. Wall's diet. Um, like by the way, I was only on it for 2 weeks, okay? So it wasn't very long. I mean, I it just didn't fit with my culture, really. Like I'm in Texas. I'm Hispanic. I eat Mexican food all the time, Tex-Mex, and just didn't fit with my lifestyle. But I felt absolutely amazing when I was on it. And it taught me a lot. Like you know, uh, that kind of like the way she explained cells and how they work, it felt like it was making sense to me. So I learned a lot about nutrition, from that journey. I
But even still, I mean, you should just try to eat as healthy as you can.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
all. I mean, that's the piece that
Well-rounded. Yeah, exactly. Well-rounded diet. I think that's good.
Like
Um,
I've said before, I was in terrible shape to catch MS. Being overweight, I was in terrible shape to catch MS.
Well, I wasn't. A part of me thinks part of why I'm so thin is because of MS. Because
yeah.
because of the gut brain, I don't want to eat, or I don't want to eat very much. I don't get the sensation of feeling hungry. And people look at me like I'm insane.
Hmm.
Mm,
And or they ask me if I'm anorexic. That's the one I get a
Hmm.
lot. How do people
Yeah,
think I'm anorexic?
man.
I get that too. I get that too. I did 2 years of strictly vegan and gluten free. Now, my illness has progressed, but my gut feels better. But I've
Mm,
lost like 30 pounds, you know, normally like 150, 160, and I'm literally like 127 right now. And that's a big weight loss. And I'm trying to get better with the diet. And it hasn't really helped me. It hasn't helped this. It hasn't stopped the process of the illness. So, and
mm,
that was the thing I was trying to like hope for in my brain, like, oh, I'm going to eat healthy, and that doesn't work. But I went down in weight so quickly because of it. Um, but it's something that I tried, and it like Karen said, it's not curable. And it's probably one of the first things I had to come to grips with, you know, just to realize it's not curable, honey. You can manage it, but it's not curable, and it's anyway. Yeah, the weight
Amina,
loss thing.
Amina, I want to ask you about the weight loss because this is a weight obsessed culture, and
Right.
I really never pretty much didn't use scales because I got a pair of shorts I could put on, and it's like it's a tight button or it's a loose button, and so I would say I've lost 20 pounds of muscle mass. I've lost that.
Oh,
I know because I don't know. I'm 71, and it's like I want that chocolate ice cream. I'm gonna have it. You know, I eat fairly healthy, and I pretty much feel like I eat fairly healthy. Sure, I could do something differently, but I don't want to. I saw a cartoon once on a tombstone, and it said, "And I ate kale." But so at first, like, and I could tell, like, my belly's a little bigger than, I would like it to be. And then they'd say, "Oh no, you're 150, 151." I'm like, "Really? Oh, okay. Now you're 149." I'm like, "Really?" And I know my belly's getting bigger, and it's like, "Now you're 142." And really? And I just get
Hmm.
depressed when I get on the scale because I've lost muscle tone. I have paralysis in my right hand, I have paralysis in my right leg. And now it's depressing to get on the scale because what? I'm 137. This is not a 137-pound body. It's a 157-pound body. So I'm just wondering if you lost the weight just because you changed your diet or because of the muscle and the not moving, and you used
Both.
to dance and I used to walk and
Yeah. Yeah. Both. I've lost muscle weight and muscle tone, and you know, my legs have, yeah. So it's both. It's the what I was eating, and also my muscle weight has gone down significantly. And I come from a culture that being skinny is not cute. Either they're gonna, think that you're, like you were saying, anorexic, or, oh my God, is she on drugs? No, neither. I'm
yeah.
just, in a pickle right now, and I don't look the same as I used to, but I'm still the same person. I just look a little different. And I really don't like getting skinny shamed. That's really, it's a really terrible thing to do to somebody. You're assuming
Yeah.
one thing, and they could literally, it could be a whole different thing that they have no control over.
Yeah.
And so,
I've
yeah,
dealt
that
with that
triggers
all my
me.
life. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that triggers me. That really is awful. And it is what it is, man. I'm not gonna vent, but it is what it is, you
I feel
know?
you though. I feel you though, Amina. I really
Hmm.
do. Like I come from a culture too where skinny shaming is a thing,
Yes.
and
Right.
like MS made me skinnier too. Like I will be honest, I lost a lot of weight. I don't know how much weight I lost, but it was significant enough that um, people were asking me what's going on, and I was like, I don't
Hmm.
know. I don't know what's going on. I'm just losing weight. And but I experienced gastroparesis. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but literally made me unable to eat. So I would be
Mm.
hungry, I would want to eat, literally could not, literally couldn't eat. So had to manage my eating habits in other ways. So I actually drank a lot of Ensure, like because I couldn't get the calories I needed, couldn't get the nutrients I needed, and I could only drink things in liquid form at its worst. Um, so I lost a lot of weight, and on one end, some people were telling me, "Oh, hey, you look great." Other end, usually my family, they were telling me,
Hmm.
"Honey, what's happening? Honey, are you
Right.
okay?" And I
Right.
say honey because my grandma,
Hmm.
she would always say honey, and she'd be the one telling me that, asking me these questions, and you know, but it was just interesting seeing the dynamic from two sides of the coin. Like on the one hand, I wasn't losing weight because of anything spectacular. I was sick, and I
Right.
didn't want to bring the conversation down. I could honestly, my cog fog was horrible at the time, and probably at its worst when I had those eating issues. But so it's not like I could make conversation, but still, you don't want to bring people down, when you're
Yeah.
talking,
For sure.
when you're
So what
saying
Hmm.
is that thing you had, Hannah? Could you not swallow, or like what prevented
no.
you from eating? Like
It
what was
was
that?
like my okay, so I don't exactly know how to describe it medically, but what it
Okay.
felt like for me was that I couldn't eat much. Like I felt full very quickly. I would
Oh, okay.
Mm.
That's
I would
how I'm
feel,
feeling. And
oh,
I get
okay,
that too
yeah.
Google
sometimes.
says
Hmm.
it's also called delayed gastric emptying,
Mm,
a
yes,
disorder that slows or stops the movement of food from your stomach to your small intestine,
yep,
even though there
Mm.
is no blockage in the stomach or intestines.
exactly, yes.
Mm.
So I would take maybe 3 or 4 bites of food and would have to stop.
Yes.
Couldn't eat
Yes.
anything
Mhm.
further than that.
Is there
Mhm.
So,
is there treatment for that, or what did you have to do to?
my doctor told me to drink more smoothies. So take my
Mhm.
food in liquid form,
Mhm.
and slowly is what he said. So, but that was the only thing he could do for me.
Wow.
How did he
Yeah.
Wow.
diagnose it?
Um, ruling out everything else. That was
Mm.
it. It was not all these other things. So it was possible that it was gastroparesis because you have
That's
MS.
I feel
But
like that's 99% of my doctor's appointments.
yeah,
Hmm.
that sounds about right. It's
Mm.
it's like we've ruled out a whole bunch of other things.
And
It
so
could
now
be
we're
this
gonna just
thing.
call it this made up Latin word. So yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But it was great though when I finally, had the courage to go see a gastroenterologist, because I think at
Mm.
that point when I talked to the gastro, I was sick of doctor's appointments. Like I think that was one of the last things that I addressed. Because you just get so tired of these doctor's appointments and so
Mhm.
tired of the same things being told to you again and again. So it's like, okay, it's not a good thing to do, but I did delay a lot of my treatment because I was
Well,
just
I've
sick of
been
dealing
Oh.
with it.
to I've been to more than one gastroenterologist.
Yeah.
I've had things put down my throat. I've had things
Mm,
put up the other end. I've been told
Mm.
there's absolutely nothing wrong with me. Oh,
And
no, that's
that's
not true. I have a very, very small hiatal hernia, but that wouldn't cause any of my
mm,
symptoms.
yeah.
anxiety. You have anxiety. That's what they love to pin everything on. I mean, I even
Mhm.
had that like knee pain. I had a broken leg and then I had knee pain. And it's like, I have must be anxiety. Everything was, but I just looked up gastroparesis. And I mean, just by the definition, that that cause might be damage to the nerve that controls stomach muscles. Like,
Mm.
it's in your head. It's true.
Literally, it's literally in your head. I mean, if you want to think of it that way, it's literally right. Something's wrong.
Because
Yeah.
it makes sense. And my MS specialist, because I was taking Ampera, which I still am, for incontinence, for urinary incontinence, but I noticed it helps with fecal urgency. And you mentioned that once to a doctor. I have to, when I gotta go. And I didn't even have
Mhm.
the word. And you mentioned it once. How often, how do you want to brag about that? I mean, you guys are saying, I'm embarrassed that I don't eat. And it's like, well, how many times are you going to say, I have fecal urgency? Oh, it's in your head.
Mm.
You have anxiety. It's like, okay, I won't talk about that anymore. But it makes sense that anything that has to do with your nerve, that is is about a
Right. So
nerve.
when I complained about the fecal urgency, it was irritable bowel syndrome.
Mm.
Okay,
Mm.
so then treat me for it.
There is no treatment.
Well,
Right.
we can't. Well, we
Uh,
can't treat you for that.
oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
It's
Oh, no, no,
everything.
like,
It's everything. That's
yeah.
every diagnosis until finally you have MS. Here is a disease modifying therapy. You won't be able to tell it's doing anything, but if
Right.
you don't get really, really, really worse, bad worse, then it means it's working. Yay. Yeah.
I just want to make one comment about the gastro paralysis. when I think back, I have had those feelings before where I'm like, okay, I know I should eat, but I'm not hungry. And then I'll try to eat. You know what helped me?
What?
Cannabis.
Oh,
Cannabis and or CBD, because both
where do
things
you
can
live?
help. I live in Florida.
Mm, yeah.
North
Yeah,
Carolina.
yeah, and
Rough.
hmm and I when I think about the times when that's happened to me, when I smoke within 30 minutes, or if I do an edible, I don't always smoke because of the lung situation, but I'll take an edible or something. I eat, I scarf something
Mhm.
down. So I don't
So I,
know
That's
if
really
it's
right.
good.
just me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
really
I've
good.
I've just
hmm
diagnosed myself with functional dyspepsia, which is very similar.
Functional.
And it's like the vagus nerve, and yeah, but it's just it's the gut brain connection. It's just that's all, and so they can't do anything about it. So why bother complaining? Why bother having more things stuck in different places? It's
Mm.
just not worth it.
John, I see you had
Jim,
your hand raised. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, it was just kind of about what we're talking about.
Mhm.
Are my eyes red and bloodshot? I'm because
Uh,
that really helps me with my pain management. I often say to
Mm.
my doctor, like, yeah, I smoke weed because I don't want to be on like Narcan and stuff or whatever,
mm,
you know. But
yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, my onset of symptom to diagnosis was only about 7 months, so it was really short compared to a lot of people. Um, but I also had like a two sides of my family, or like my collection of family on my weight loss, because I lost 91 pounds in those 7 months.
oh,
Mm.
I
that's a lot.
was a bouncer at a rock and roll biker bar, and I went from being able to be like really tough guy down to like, hey, I'm the off balance slow bouncer. So if you want to do something, just go ahead. Just don't break anything. Um, but what no one really noticed was I was losing all this weight. But if I was losing this much weight that fast, I should have been showing gains, like mad
Uh,
ass.
Muscles.
Yeah,
yeah.
show some of those gains. But I didn't. But my doctor noticed, like, a lot. That was one of his things for sending me to a neurologist. So
Wow.
thankful for him.
Good
Wow.
doctor.
hmm
I
Yeah.
I I I, I pretty much thought that after the first blood tests and the first time we really talked about symptoms, that he knew what was going on. And I think that was only circumstantial because we have a mutual friend who has MS and used a walker. So I think he kind of knew what to look out for. Maybe it's on top of his head. But looking back now, like, why are you starting me on magnesium? Oh, don't worry, it's just fine. Oh, you're gonna start me on Zoloft? Why? Everyone needs a little Zoloft. What about vitamin D? Well, you're a white man and you live in Michigan, so you need some vitamin D. But looking back on 6 years experience, I knew exactly what he was thinking, you know, and it was really kind of him to walk me like that, you know.
hmm It's a great
Yes,
doctor.
Mike. Oh, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
Walking you through it. Um,
yeah.
so how does everyone manage their weight then? Like Amina, I don't mean to call you out, but
Oh no, it's
I'm
okay.
just curious of how you guys handle all of that.
Uh, um, like this, pretty much. I eat probably. I have like maybe 8 to 10 things in my diet, And that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I don't waver a lot. And when I keep it consistent like that, I feel okay. Now, as far as the weight gain that I'm trying to do, I've stopped worrying about that because that was adding stress. So I'm just eating healthy, getting my well-rounded meals, and just the same, pretty much the same, a lot of the same stuff. So that's
Okay.
the way that I eat. Especially also because groceries are so expensive and I eat really like organic and, really healthy. So I kind of keep it financially sound too by doing, 8 to 10 things that I eat. Yeah.
That's I do like the idea of saving money. There's that. I know that I know that when I was really going through the tough times with gastroparesis issues, um, I had to modify my meals to be much smaller. So, like I mentioned, like having to drink those Ensure drinks, but I would choose to drink the ones with less sugar, like I think there was some organic brand that I had found and drank that. But I would eat like literally like 8 to 10 tiny meals just throughout the day, and that's how I managed it. I still lost a lot of weight, but at least I wasn't feeling as hungry anymore after I had sort of made those adjustments. So even though I was feeling extremely full after just a few bites, it was, manageable at least, and I knew that I was getting an okay enough amount of calories at a certain point. Susie, I see your hand is raised.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. For me, I lost a lot of weight, not due to MS. It was I had a bad gallbladder, and I lost weight really quick. That's how they seen all my gallstones and just a bad gallbladder. So, but before I moved it out, I remember the day I went for surgery. The day of surgery, I weighed in at 101. That's how much I lost. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like within a few months, it just came crashing down from like 130 to 101. It was insane.
Wow.
It was
That's
scary.
like John.
Yeah. So, anyways, when I started gaining weight, it was a lot of like protein drinks and small meals, stuff like that. But I found out for me, what works for me is I'm more protein oriented. I have to have protein. If I don't have protein, it's just I don't feel well, I noticed. And then it I'll keep losing weight now still if I don't keep up with the protein. But the nutritionist I was working with, she recommended, and it's actually worked, like strength training, like with small hand weights and doing strength training, because she goes, your muscle is heavier than fat.
Right.
So she goes, if you start doing strength training, gaining muscle, she goes, you're going to gain weight.
It's also good for your bones too.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
people with MS have trouble with their bones because of the steroid treatments. And
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
important for us
Yeah.
just in general to do strength
Yeah.
training.
Yeah. And she says it's
That's
good,
true.
like for building, like if you want to gain weight, that's good. And protein, I guess, goes hand in hand with that.
Yep.
Because if you eat
It builds
protein,
the muscle.
yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah. So that's how I'm plateaued about 116, 117. That's where I'm plateaued at. But my doctor says that's good enough for my height. So, because I'm only like 5'1". So, yeah. But she's like,
Okay.
don't lose anymore. Don't lose anymore. So,
I'm about 5'8", and I last weighed in at about 118.
yeah.
So that's a bit low.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, yeah. Yeah, it's scary. And people do think that, like, are you
Oh, you're
not
so
eating?
lucky.
Are you, are you binging and purging? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like,
Right.
it's my gallbladder. It's like,
It's, it's my
yeah,
gallbladder. Calm down.
yeah, because it just, yeah, it was crazy. But I get that shaming because they think it's your eating habits rather than,
Right.
what's going on with you. Yeah.
Yeah. I would always, and people would always tell me, "Oh, you look so good."
Right.
And in my head, I'm like, "Thank you, but I don't feel good
Yeah.
Right.
at all. Not at
Yeah.
all. But thank you."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, thanks.
So I was watching some Caesar Milan over the weekend on YouTube. I don't know how old this show was that I was watching, but obviously you guys know who he is, right? He works with dogs. He's the dog whisperer, blah 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 blah. He was talking about the dogs, but I have decided that the four things that he claims that, dogs live kind of in the moment and they need four things in life. And I've decided that that goes for everybody, not just dogs. And it's calmness, confidence, love, and joy. And I just love that so much that I wanted to share it.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Write
think
that in the chat.
Andrea's also going to share. Psst, psst, psst,
Yeah.
because that's what the dog whisperer does.
Hey,
He
John.
just
Oh,
says that like, psst, just
oh.
like a really quiet.
I was like, "What?"
Sorry, my microphone had drifted away from my mouth.
Hannah, you're not familiar? I do. He has, there are people that critique him, and I just thought not only is he adorable, but yeah, and I can't remember. I think I might have discovered him after I used to have a pit mix dog who was just this amazing dog that I never had a dog before. I used to be scared, and people would say, I never saw a dog before that talked. I go, what do you mean? So my dog did talk, and she was a comedian. Go figure. And
Go figure.
and she would just listen to me. And then she died. And then a few years later, I got a terrier, a little 15-pound fluffy, someone said a slipper on a leash. And that 15-pound dog, she would never listen to me. So I used to watch Caesar Milan. It was like, why isn't she listening to me? But there was something about channeling him that it was,
Mhm.
I enjoyed watching him.
Me too.
Does anyone here have any emotional support animals? I'm just curious.
I mean,
No.
I have
I
pets,
have.
but they're not registered.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
not
Yeah.
registered. He's just my pet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I have two cats, but they're not registered.
Yeah.
They've got me through, but
Yes.
they're not on paper.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
okay.
he's all the emotional support. That's right. But yeah, he's not on
Yeah,
paper.
yeah.
I have
I re
Maybe.
two doggies, a tortoise, some fish, and a bunch of snails. So like they do,
Oh, I love
like each of them do give me pleasure in like observing, because the snails are in a sealed jar, living
Oh,
off the oxygen and the stuff that the plant inside
Hmm.
generates.
Oh,
So,
cool.
it's a sealed system. So I just like to go and
Oh, that's
watch and
cool.
check that out. So I'm pretty much a nerd when it
That is
comes to
see.
cool.
pets.
That is pretty cool. No, I get you on the nerd part. I have, yeah. So my individual animals are not registered, but I recently did get an emotional support letter from my psychiatrist. I mean, I shouldn't say my psychiatrist because I've only seen her once, but um, she she basically just wrote me an overall letter that stated that I need whatever animals I deem appropriate on the lease, um, so that I can have them rent free, living with me.
Yeah.
So I just didn't know if I was just curious about whether or not anybody else was a animal fanatic because I couldn't live without my
Oh,
babies. Honestly.
Yes.
I
no.
really,
Gotta have that.
mm-mm.
I've even adopted, I have a family of squirrels that's in my tree in my front yard. And
Mm.
they're crazy, they're funny, but they drive my cat nuts. But it's funny. I'm able to just feed them, like hand feed them. They'll just
Oh,
come
that's
up to me and I'll
great.
just feed them.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah,
that's cool.
I
yeah.
love
They're
that.
I haven't. I'm not brave enough to try to pet them. Like I don't
Right.
know if those. So I just have to stick with the hand feeding. But I am tempted to like
Yeah.
build their tail or something. But yeah,
Oh.
yeah,
Totally.
yeah. But yeah. So yeah. So I don't know if I could register them. No.
Yeah.
Roll with me.
I mean, I
I
don't know if you have to register them individually or not, but
Yeah.
you can
Well,
get a
I
you
letter.
know,
Yeah.
before
Anna,
I moved, I
you're
was
an artist. I knew an artist, someone I was friendly with, and she created her own tag. She went to Europe for a little while, and she just created a tag and just made it look very professional, had it laminated, and she took her dog. France wasn't a problem. I mean, nowhere was a problem. And then I said, well, it was just, I can't see you doing that, honey, because you're kind of honest. Like having the nerve to go, I'm going to buy a plane ticket and go to Europe and have my support animal, and she's got the
Oh,
license on it. And I said, well, I mean, don't they? She said, they're not allowed to ask, why
yeah,
do
they're
you
not.
get emotional?
no,
It's
they're
like,
not.
it's too
Yeah,
intrusive.
that's true. They're not allowed to ask about your disability. They're not allowed to ask about your animal. Although they can ask to see the paperwork. I think that's why
Yeah.
you need it in the
I'm
first
sure,
place, but
I'm sure she'd create that as well.
I I
probably.
I can't imagine trying to take my tortoise banana on like a plane with me, and like the person's like, so why do you have this support animal?
Yeah.
Well, she really teaches me to slow down and to really like
The
take in
tortoise?
what's going on around me.
Yep.
Kind of a stop and smell the roses.
Didn't
Because
you
Yeah,
know
obviously,
that
That is
that's
I
right.
tortoise
important
won the
though. That is
race?
yeah.
important.
And she
Um,
helps me learn how to stick my neck out
Yeah.
and take risks.
there you go.
But
I used
sometimes you just
to
need to be safe.
Yeah.
You gotta.
just gotta you
Hunker
gotta
up. That's right.
there you go. I used to have pet rats, and rats are some of my favorite pets to own. And I can't imagine not being asked questions if I were to bring them with me on an airplane. I know they're not supposed to ask, but I think that they have recently limited the types of animals you can have
Right.
Yeah.
as your
That's what I was
emotional
gonna say.
support.
Yeah,
Right.
you can't
Yeah,
take your horse with you on a plane.
you can't
Or,
take the
or
horse.
didn't someone take a peacock or something
Uh-huh.
one time? Like a
Yeah,
I
something like
peacock
think
or
I think I read about that. I think I heard about
yeah.
that. Yeah, but I mean, pet rats are truly like amazing creatures. They really
They're
are.
great. They're great.
They are. And if I could have one as my emotional support animal, I would in a heartbeat. No questions asked. So anyway, I thought I'd throw that out there because they're
Yeah.
amazing creatures. Um, but
Sounds like you got the letter to make it happen.
I should. You're giving me ideas, Karen. Um,
that wasn't me, but yeah, I think Andrea said, oh, that getting the letters and the
yeah, yeah, getting.
making it up. I wanted to bring up because we're coming to the end, and
Mhm.
so I wanted to know. I know Jennifer and I have problems with fine motor control, if you can even call it that anymore. And Amina mentioned it, so I was wondering who else has, because
Um.
I read I just don't get good information in this country, and so I would read from Bart's blog, and I forgot her name now, Amanda. I think I sent her information, and maybe she can post it, because she would ask me, and it's my hand. It's hard for me to type. I can with one hand, but it's not the same. And Dr. G is in London. He's really a great advocate and a researcher and a doctor with MS. And he talked about Think Hand, having a program called Think Hand, that with MS, it's always like, can you walk? Can you not walk? And there's so many things Because people say to me, "Oh, well, I see you walk with the walker," and it's like, but I can't use my right hand. I can't use my dominant hand, and it's progressively getting worse. And there's just so many things you need to do with your hands. I can't.
Hmm.
I have trouble plucking the little hairs on my chin. I can still do it, and then I'm thinking, well, what happens? I can't do it with the right hand. I go, well, what happens when I can't do it? Someone's gonna have to come over and do this for me. But
I know. When I do that, I have to hold my elbow as I pluck, just to hold one, hold my hand still. But I'm
Yeah.
still able to pluck. But it's like I said before earlier, I got to adjust to what I can do. I can still do it, but it's going to look different.
Yeah. But I
So
think
yeah.
that's what you said right now is so powerful though.
Amen.
It's you can still do it, but it's going to look different. And unfortunately, MS will make us adapt in ways that we never thought we could or never even wanted to adapt. Um, but I mean, I think it's just great that you can recognize that and you can see the amount of progress that you've made from the beginning to where you are now. Um, and I feel like it's when we're sucked into the vortex of symptoms and you feel like you have no choice but to think about your symptoms, on a day-to-day basis. But I think that it's just important to remember those good things. Remember the progress you've made, remember the things around you. Um, Art made me remember those things. It really did. I mean, I had to rearrange the way I did things. I didn't have hand tremors, but I could feel that there was something going on with the cognitive issues that wasn't allowing me to be as detail oriented as I used to be. So, there wasn't the hand issue specifically, but I still couldn't be detail oriented and I still couldn't draw as realistically as I used to. But, found a way to adapt to the thing that I love to do and it works for me now. And, it's one of those things that I embrace it now personally. Um, yeah, so anyway, I don't mean to take any hands. I see somebody's hand raised now. Did you raise your hand again, Karen?
Well, that was one thing I wanted to bring up about the hand. And I have a neuro appointment in August, and that doctor, she said, "Oh, I read Dr. G. He's not doing a blog anymore because I read his stuff every day because I have to do that 25-foot timed walk and yeah, just to pay attention. Just, oh, it's all about the walking. And it's like, no, it's all about the cognitive. It's all about the blurry vision. It's all about all of that. But I want to share with people this. I have had this amazing experience, and I have my primary care doctor is an osteopath, and she's done body work on me. I go see her, and she does like 45 minutes of osteopathic manipulation. And I was like, well, whatever. At least I get to spend time with her and yakety yak about other things. But because of COVID, because of all the vortex that Honey talk about and all these things, I feel like the less time I spend with the medical, the happier I am. But I always look forward to seeing her, and the time before last, I saw her, and now I'm going to forget because it was so amazing. And I keep a note in my calendar. It's like the changes. Like the next day I went swimming and someone noticed, wow, you're swimming better. And it's like, yeah, I'm now, this arm was so tight, the right side that has paralysis, that it's now looser than my left. And I was swimming with all four limbs. And I just had a lot of things that I could say were different. And she's got the mask on and she gives me this eye. She read it and then I said, I can't interpret without your face. She goes, I can't believe it. I mean, I'm not sure what I did, but she's getting really burnt out at working in primary care. And so I went last Wednesday, and for the first time, I don't walk anymore around the block. I use my walker, and people say, oh, but you can walk. And I don't call taking a step with my left foot and dragging the right foot walking. It's true. I can do that. It's true. I'm not in a wheelchair, but that's not called walking. And I grew up walking, and I just thought I'd walk into old age. And I haven't walked for the pleasure of taking a walk because my body's so out of balance that it's just, then I have pain from doing that. And last Friday, I left her office, and it's right near a very little commercial area. And I think it might have been a year ago or close to a year ago that I left there because I used to leave there and go for a walk. It's like, oh, there's little shops and stores, and I'll go for a walk. And I couldn't continue, and I took this alleyway back to my car. So I don't go for walks anymore. I left the office. I felt taller. I felt, and she says it takes a few days. I felt taller, and I was like, I think I'll go to the corner. And then I was like, I think I'll walk down the street. And then I went, I think what is that restaurant? I think I'll do that. And I was like, oh, I'm not hungry, but I think I can go in that restaurant and eat. I'm going to get the menu, come back later. And then I just said, I think I'll walk around the corner to get to my car. I haven't done that in a year. Then
Oh,
I
that's
did.
so awesome.
Wow.
But it gets better. I can't remember it all, and I'm gonna look it up. Then I did your art on Thursday, and it just wow! I just felt so healed. I just felt so it was so healing. It just I could totally like second and third and fourth what Amina said. It just excited me inside that I can do that. And then Saturday. And then my doctor asked me, she said, do you, because she changed, she used to work when she was in grad school or just regular school for an osteopath. And that changed her trajectory. Like she's very research oriented and she saw people doing it. So she asked me, she said, and I think I had written down that to the time before last, I came home and I just laid on the couch with my legs over the arms, which I don't normally do. And I was just like wiped out. I was like that for 3 hours and my couch is very solid. And I would like wake up and the TV was on and I was just, and she said, patients would come in and say they felt like they were hit with a Mack truck. And she said, "Do you feel that?" And I said, "No, it felt very restful. Like it felt something." And then this time on Wednesday, going there, and then Thursday, the art. And I can't put all the other details in going for the walk, but there was some other, oh, my hand. Oh, because I don't write anymore. I can't write. And I still sometimes try to pick up a pen. And I made a couple of notes, and I'm like, oh my God, I have a handwriting again. It's not like I'm going to be writing a novel, but oh my God, it's already almost kind of not there. So
You
that
got
blew
to
me away.
practice it, Karen. You got to use it. You've got to
Little
Well,
steps.
rebuild those
I mean,
neural
that's
networks.
okay, but if you pick it
Your
up and it
mind
doesn't
is
work.
plastic.
So then on Saturday I went swimming because I call it my aquatic senior center, even though there's young people there too. But I went in on Saturday and there's someone who gives a ride to a woman who had a stroke and she looked at me and she said, Karen, you're walking better. And I'm like, I am walking better. That's true. I'm walking better. And I came into this. I always have my walker with me. I always have my walker with me in the house because I don't want to fall. I'm afraid I'm going to fall. And I have my walker with me. And I had the walker in the kitchen when I came to group. And then I walked out. I had to go get something. And I'm like, oh, I don't have the walker. And yesterday I was walking with the walker and kind of pushing it away. And it's like, oh, I can walk. And I don't know if other people, but sometimes I have dreams. I wake up and I go, maybe this all will go away. And last night I was thinking, what if I could walk better again? Would I want to use the cane again? And it's like, no, my walker, it's safety and I like it. I could put things in the walker. It just blew me away that I can embrace the walker in such a way, but and have that glimpse of could I really could something so I she recommends to come back every 3 to 4 weeks and then often there's only 5 weeks till an appointment or then it was COVID and then it was this and then it was that and I need to call tomorrow anyway. I want to like document really well and say I want to maintain this. I want to maintain it. And so it's kind of exciting for me, but it's exciting for her too that it's like it's doing. So I read about osteopathic manipulation and it's like it's supposed to help the body integrate. It does things to help the body to integrate and find its strength. So
I'm gonna
I'll
have to
give
look into that. Yeah.
word on that.
Well, I'd
Well,
I'd like to say, Karen, that just from the very beginning of this meeting, I have been meaning to comment to you that you look happy tonight. You just seem a little more upbeat, a little bit.
I went to Hannah's music class. I mean, art class
Exactly,
yesterday. I went to her
exactly.
art class again, and then I reached out. Is another thing. I reached out to someone. There used to be a MS yoga class in my neighborhood, and the teacher was just ridiculous. I just went because I'm in a room with other people with MS, and I remember she told me that she used to do art and she doesn't do it anymore. And someone in Hannah's class said, "Oh, I used to do art and I don't do it anymore." And I didn't even get up from the chair because I knew I'd forget. And I Googled her because I knew she ran a group with MS, and I called her and she goes, "Is this Karen Broder? I've been asking about you." And so she said, "I'm going to go." Okay. She's an artist and she wants to go to the class. And we just checked in and she told me about because it's been since COVID so reaching out to somebody with it's kind of using what you have, because I do feel sad about people that aren't in my life. And my therapist, she said, "Karen, you always find, you talk about those disappointments and then you always find a way to connect with people and do that." But then Hannah put another little bug in my head and she said, "Well, Karen, since you do music, maybe you should play music when you do art." And so I was just so energized from the art, the 2 sessions of art, from calling this woman. I put on whatever it was. I just put on the CD player and it was like hot salsa music. And I was just like dancing. And then I even went into the living room and I was dancing. I mean, I don't walk around without my walker. And I think it's all of it. I think it's the osteopathic manipulation, that it's the body's integrating something, and the art, and getting in touch with that, and reaching out to other people and doing what I can do.
yeah,
Acceptance to a certain degree as well.
to a certain degree, yeah. I really love how happy you look, Karen, just to bounce off of what
Yeah.
Amina was saying. Um, maybe we should make art a regular thing, you know? I love that you're doing
Period.
I love that you're doing all these things that contribute to your health overall, and I do see that it's working, and I love that for you. I'm so happy for you. Um, that's amazing. Okay. Well, this is an amazing conversation. Absolutely love talking to everybody, but is there anything else that we want to squeeze in for anybody who hasn't spoken yet? Jennifer, Christy, Frank, is there anything else you'd like to say? I don't mean to call you out, but I just figured I would since we're on the topic of saying last minute things.
No,
Well,
just that our next meeting is August 9th. So,
Perfect.
yes,
August 9th. There we go.
9th.
Next meeting.
well, I had my first consultation. I'm just throwing this out there for the intrathecal baclofen pump. So I'm supposed to start the trial on that probably within the next couple of weeks and see if that works. And if it does, then we're going to move forward to have it implanted. Yay. So hopefully that works because this is just getting too much.
And when was that again? I missed it.
In the next couple of weeks,
Oh, next few weeks. Oh, okay.
yeah, just to do the trial because that's what my insurance requires
Oh,
is the
okay.
trial before it actually gets implanted under my
I think that's
skin.
pretty common practice.
Yeah, it is.
So
Okay.
hopefully that's the answer to what I'm going through because this has been going on for almost a year and kind of over it. So, but yay. And then also insurance approved my new wheelchair, so I should be getting that soon too.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Thank you.
congrats.
Yeah,
Big
it's a
step.
long time going. It's been since February.
And
So,
I would be remiss, speaking of wheelchairs, Christy, I didn't say today is the 32nd anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So when you see an MS community, we know that. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording if that's okay.
I just want to say before you stop the recording, I want to say something on the ADA.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
So I have two very, very close friends, and one is literally from birth. And the one from birth became severely disabled in 1983. He had a brain bleed that they didn't clip quickly enough, and so it left him with the effects of a stroke, and he was totally paralyzed down one side. And he's been in a wheelchair ever since, very independent, doing just fine. But it really brought home to me at the age of 33 the impact of disability. And I remember when the ADA was passed, and I sent it to Michael that I think the same day, because he'd been working in England, and he did for many years. He doesn't do it anymore, but he worked with disability groups to try and innovate the same provisions as ADA. And so, and funny enough, I just spoke to him at the weekend. I called him on Saturday on WhatsApp, and we talked for about an hour on WhatsApp. It's not easy because his speech is slurred, so it takes a lot of concentration to figure out what he's saying and what have you. But when you talk about the ADA and it's the, what did you say, 32nd anniversary?
Yes.
Again? I think, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's 32 years since I had to send this to Michael. So what year was that? 32, 1990? Yeah, 1990. He'd been in a wheelchair 7 years at that point in time.
Hey Rick, have you ever seen the documentary called Handicap Camp?
Let me first say, Michael has trained me out of using the word handicapped.
It's the name of the show. I didn't. It's
I'm not allowed. I know, but I'm not allowed to use it.
But it isn't that. Andrea, I think you're thinking about Crip Camp.
Oh crap!
It's called Crip Camp, right?
You're right.
Okay, because
I had
Andrea,
it
I have
wrong.
to tell you,
I knew it was something that was weird to say. That's as much as, and I got it
wrong. Let me just say, that was one of the first things he trained me. You can't use that word handicap. You can't use
what
that
do we
word
have to
handicap.
say?
I'd say, Michael, what the heck's wrong with handicap? He says, well, it means handicap because you're begging. And he says it's not PC, and you can't use it. So I took it out of my vocabulary 36 years ago.
So what did he come up with? Because I know they'll say differently abled, and I know the disability community, they'll say, not yet disabled. You're not yet disabled.
Disabled is fine. Disabled is what he trained me to use instead of handicapped. I couldn't use handicapped, and it was still very much in use here in the United States. I mean,
all I can say is that my brain is shrinking.
That's okay. Jen, does handicap ring a bell with you? Is that a word now that we shouldn't be using, or is it still okay in the US vocabulary?
No, we should not be using that word.
As a person who uses a wheelchair, I'm fine with it. I would rather not be excluded from the conversation. So as long as you're talking to me about my disability, then educate me, we'll talk, discourse. Yeah.
I grew up with a brother who had cerebral palsy, and he
wow, yes,
he was severely handicapped from birth.
Wait, you're not allowed to say that.
But that's what I grew up with. He was
Yes, of
he
course.
was retarded.
Yes,
That's the word I knew. It
yes,
wasn't a derogatory word. It wasn't
right.
it was a descriptive word. And so I think yeah, when you get up, I consider myself handicapped or disabled, but my best friend's 13-year-old daughter is constantly correcting me on the words that I use.
Yeah. You
Language
know,
has so much
Andrea, I
power.
love what you say because I remember having to say to Mike, what the hell's wrong with handicapped? Well, why can't I say handicapped? And he had to explain to me why I shouldn't be using it anymore. And so, and I love it. And the US was a good ways behind the UK in making that adjustment. I mean, you don't hear it a lot. You don't hear the use handicapped anymore. We don't
Oh
talk
my
about
Unless
God.
it's
handicapped
a
parking
sticker.
spaces.
I say it, and now I have to stop because, especially at the pool, because the handicap ramp, I use the handicapped elevator and the handicap ramp, and
You're right. It is
but
used
I'm
a
not
lot.
sure
You're
what to
right.
call it, like the access,
Disabled,
The ramp,
disabled.
the
Disabled.
elevator.
the ramp and the
Why
elevator,
does it have to be the disabled or the handicap ramp? Why can't it
the
just be the
access.
ramp?
Well, the access ramp is really.
Access ramp, sure.
There you go. There
But
you
those were
go.
the two instances where I used the word handicap. I don't
Right.
even say,
Yeah,
I do say I have a disability, but I'll be more
yeah.
mindful. So
But
tell your
you
friend,
see,
thank
Yeah, I'm
the
learning things too.
association, Karen, in the UK language, which sort of has now traveled to here, is that handicapped is associated with begging.
That
Or
makes sense.
golf.
Right. So I have a
Oh,
big problem. I have a major problem with people trying to use the word differently abled.
you.
I
Me
am
too.
not I am not differently abled. I am not able to do something that a person born with normal abilities can do.
yeah,
That makes me
yeah,
disabled. And if you call me differently able, you're you're not you're not giving me credit for being able to do something that's difficult for me to do, if that makes sense.
yeah.
Because
So here's what I'm
like
going
we were
to do.
telling Amina, we can do it. We just have to do it differently.
Yeah.
So I
Here's
get
what I'm
that
going to do.
part, but yeah. Mm.
I, I I'm going once we post the recording, I'm going to send this to Mike and tell him to listen to the last 10 minutes.
He'll love it. He will love
He'll
it.
love it. He will. He will love it. He
And
won't tell me that because he wouldn't say that, but he'll love it.
He doesn't have to say it. We know it. We all know it.
That's right.
And you
And I
do have
will
to,
say, and I will say, God bless him, he's been very supportive of AnCan from the beginning, because of course and occasionally he makes donations and what have you, even from the UK. So God bless him.
That's nice.
we got that part in the recording.
Yes. Now you can stop the recording, Miss Jill.
All right, no
and
problem.
Rick, you need to remind us. I know you think we're all really sharp as a tack, but we started the meeting and Jennifer realized that we wasn't.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay,
Oh,
that's a touchy little guy.
This conference will now be
Stop
recorded.
it.
What is